Before I share this unforgettable story, I want to invite you to be part of this journey with me. If you love true emotional family stories filled with suspense, secrets, and second chances, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who believes in the power of family. Your support helps me bring more real stories like this to you, and together, we can remind each other that hope and healing are always possible. Now let's begin, because what happened that midnight changed everything for my family. It was just past midnight when my phone rang, its sharp sound slicing through the quiet of the house. I sat up in bed, heart pounding, already bracing for bad news. Calls at this hour are never casual, never routine. I fumbled for my glasses and glanced at the screen. My daughter's name glowed in the darkness. 1,000 worries rushed through my mind as I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Dad, can you come outside? I need you." Her voice was low, trembling, and I could hear the strain behind every word. She didn't sound hurt, but there was something urgent, almost desperate in her tone. I asked if she was all right, if something had happened, but she only repeated, "Please, just come to the backyard. I'll explain when you get here." I threw on a robe and slippers, my mind racing with questions. Had she gotten into trouble? Was she hiding from someone? Or was this about something deeper? Something she'd been carrying alone? The house felt colder than usual as I made my way down the hall, the familiar creaks and shadows suddenly unfamiliar. I paused at the back door, peering out into the night. The yard was bathed in silver moonlight, the old tree casting long, thin shadows across the grass. I could see her standing near the tree, arms wrapped around herself, head bowed. She looked so small, so vulnerable, and for a moment I was transported back to when she was a child, running to me after a nightmare. But this was different. She was grown now, and whatever had brought her here at this hour was something she couldn't face. Alone, as I stepped outside, the air was thick with anticipation and worry. I knew deep down that whatever my daughter was about to share would change everything. I just didn't know how much. The moment I stepped out the back door, the world felt different, quieter, heavier, as if the night itself was holding its breath. The porch light cast a small circle of safety behind me, but beyond that, the yard was a patchwork of moonlight and shadow. Each step across the cool grass seemed to echo, amplifying the tension that had settled in my chest since my daughter's call. I could see her silhouette by the old tree, unmoving, waiting. The sight of her there alone in the darkness sent a wave of protectiveness and worry through me. As I walked, memories flickered through my mind. Her first steps in this very yard, the birthday parties we'd celebrated under the tree, the arguments and reconciliations that had played out on these same blades of grass. I remembered the time she'd come to me with scraped knees or broken hearts, and how I'd always tried to fix things, to make the world safe for her. But tonight, I sensed that whatever she needed from me was beyond a simple fix. The night was thick with the scent of damp earth and distant lilacs. Somewhere a dog barked, and a car passed on the road beyond our fence, its headlights briefly illuminating the branches above us. I felt the weight of years pressing down, years of being her father, of trying to do right by her, of sometimes failing and sometimes succeeding. I wondered if this moment was the result of something I'd missed, some pain I hadn't seen or some secret I hadn't been ready to hear. As I drew closer, I could see her face, pale in the moonlight, eyes shining with unshed tears. She didn't speak right away, and I didn't rush her. Instead, I stood beside her, letting the silence stretch between us, thick with all the things we hadn't said. The old tree loomed above, its roots deep and tangled, a silent witness to our family's history. In that moment, I realized that this night was more than just a conversation. It was a turning point. Whatever my daughter had to share, whatever we were about to face, would leave its mark on both of us, and on the story of our family. She stood silent for a moment, her breath visible in the cool night air. I waited, letting her find her words. Finally, she looked up at me, her voice barely above a whisper. "Dad, there's something I need to show you. I should have told you a long time ago, but I was scared. I didn't know how." She glanced at the old tree, then back at me, her hands trembling as she gestured for me to follow. We walked together, the grass damp beneath our feet, the moonlight painting silver patterns on the ground. I could feel her anxiety, the way she kept glancing at me as if searching for reassurance. I wanted to reach out, to tell her it was all right, but I sensed she needed to do this in her own way. We stopped at the base of the tree, its roots sprawling like the veins of our family's history. She knelt down, brushing away leaves and loose dirt, her fingers shaking. "I buried something here years ago," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I thought I could forget about it, but I can't. It's been eating at me, and I can't move forward until I face it." I knelt beside her, my heart pounding with a mix of dread and compassion. I had no idea what she was about to unearth. An old diary, a letter, a piece of her past she'd tried to hide. Whatever it was, I knew it mattered deeply to her. I could see the fear in her eyes, the weight she'd been carrying alone. She paused, looking at me with tears threatening to spill. "I'm sorry. I didn't tell you sooner. I was afraid you'd be disappointed, or angry, or that you wouldn't understand. But I can't keep this secret anymore. I need you to know the truth." In that moment, I realized that this wasn't just about what was buried under the tree. It was about trust, about the courage to be vulnerable, and about the hope that even the deepest secrets can be faced together. I reached for her hand, ready to help her dig up whatever she'd hidden, and to face whatever truth she needed to share. We knelt side by side at the base of the old tree as a child, sitting under the tree with her mother, both of them laughing, sunlight tangled in their hair. Another was a formal portrait of my parents, young and hopeful, their eyes full of dreams for the future. At the bottom of the box was a small, velvet pouch. My daughter hesitated, then opened it to reveal a delicate silver locket. She held it up, and I saw it was engraved with our family initials. Inside was a tiny photograph of my wife as a girl and a lock of her hair. My daughter pressed the locket to her chest, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. I was stunned, not just by the contents of the box, but by the weight of love, loss, and longing they carried. Each item was a piece of our family's story, preserved and hidden away, waiting for the right moment to be found. As I looked at my daughter, I realized that what she had buried was not just a box, but a part of herself she was finally ready to share. Confessions. In the dark, for a long moment, my daughter just held the locket, her shoulders shaking as she tried to steady her breath. The moonlight caught the tears on her cheeks, and I felt a helpless ache in my chest. I wanted to reach for her, to offer comfort, but I sensed she needed to speak first, to let the words come in her own time. Finally, she looked up at me, her voice raw and trembling. "I buried the box the night Mom died," she whispered. "I couldn't handle the pain, Dad. Everywhere I looked, I saw her, her handwriting on the letters, her smile in the photos, her voice in every room. I felt like I was drowning in memories, and I didn't know how to talk about it. I thought if I hid it all away, maybe I could move on." She wiped her eyes, clutching the locket tightly. But it didn't work. The pain didn't go away. I just started carrying it inside instead. I felt guilty for wanting to forget, and even guiltier for not being able to. I was angry at you too. You seemed so strong, so focused on keeping everything together. I thought you didn't need me to talk about it, so I kept it all to myself. Her words spilled out in a rush, years of silence breaking open. "I missed Mom so much, but I missed you too." We stopped talking about her, about how much it hurt. I felt alone, even when we were in the same room. I started to believe that maybe I was the only one who couldn't move on, that maybe something was wrong with me. I listened, torn between shock and regret. I remembered my own grief, how I'd thrown myself into work and routine, thinking I was protecting us both from the worst of the pain. I realized now that my silence had left her alone with her sorrow, that my strength had looked like distance to her. She took a shaky breath. "I'm sorry I kept this from you. Dad, I was scared you'd be disappointed, or that you'd think I was weak. But I can't carry it alone anymore. I want to remember Mom, and I want to remember us, together." In the darkness, I reached for her hand, my own eyes stinging with tears. "You were never alone," I said softly. "I just wish I'd told you that sooner." And as we sat there, surrounded by the pieces of our past, I knew that this confession was the first step toward healing for both of us. So we sat in the cool grass, the box between us, and for the first time in years, there was nothing left to hide. My daughter wiped her tears, and I found my own voice trembling as I spoke. I thought I was protecting you by not talking about. Mom, I thought if I kept busy, if I stayed strong, it would help us both move forward. But I see now that I was just running from my own pain and leaving you to carry yours alone. She shook her head, a sad smile flickering across her face. I should have told you how much I was hurting. I was afraid you'd think I was weak or that I was making things harder for you. I didn't want to be a burden. You were never a burden, I said, reaching for her hand. I wish I'd told you that every day. I wish I'd asked how you were really feeling, instead of pretending everything was fine. We talked for a long time, sharing memories of my wife, her laugh, her kindness, the way she made every holiday special. We admitted to the anger and guilt we'd both felt, the moments we'd snapped at each other, or pulled away when we needed comfort most. It was painful, but it was also a relief to finally say the things we'd kept inside for so long. As the night deepened, I realized that this conversation was changing us. The secret she'd buried had become a bridge, not a wall. We forgave each other for the mistakes we'd made, for the words left unspoken, and the hugs never given. In that moment, I saw my daughter not just as the child I'd tried to protect, but as a woman brave enough to face her pain and share it with me. We sat together under the old tree, the past laid bare, and I felt hope stirring for the first time in a long while. We couldn't change what had happened, but we could choose to move forward, together, honest and unafraid. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the kitchen window as my daughter and I sat at the table, the box between us. She looked at me, uncertainty in her eyes, and I nodded. It's time, I said. We don't have to carry this alone anymore. With a deep breath, she called her brother and sister, asking them to come over. There was hesitation in their voices, but something in her tone must have told them this was important. When the family gathered, my daughter took a steadying breath and began to share her story. She spoke about the night she buried the box, the pain she'd carried, and the fear that had kept her silent. She showed them the letters, the photos and the locket, her voice trembling but clear. At first there was only stunned silence. My son's eyes filled with tears, and my youngest daughter reached for her sister's hand, squeezing it tight. The conversation that followed was not easy. Old wounds resurfaced, resentments about how we'd all handled grief, misunderstandings that had festered in the silence. There were tears, apologies, and moments when it seemed the pain might be too much to bear. But as we talked, something began to shift. We listened to each other in a way we hadn't in years, letting the truth settle between us instead of pushing it away. My children shared their own memories and regrets, admitting to the ways they'd tried to be strong for everyone else, even when they were hurting inside. We laughed through our tears at stories of their mother, remembering her warmth and the way she'd always brought us together. The box, once a symbol of secrets and sorrow, became a catalyst for healing. By the end of the day, I felt a sense of relief and hope I hadn't known in a long time. We hugged, promising to keep talking, to keep sharing, and to never let silence grow between us again. The family that had once felt fractured was beginning to mend, not because the pain had disappeared, but because we were finally facing it, together, as a family should. A week later, we gathered beneath the old tree, the same place where so much pain had been buried and unearthed. This time there was no secrecy, no fear, just the warmth of family coming together with open hearts. My daughter suggested we start a new tradition. Every year, we'd meet here, share a meal, and talk honestly about our lives, our memories, and even our regrets. It was her way of making sure we never let silence or secrets take root again. We spread a blanket on the grass and filled it with food, laughter, and stories. My grandchildren played nearby, their laughter echoing through the branches, while my children and I took turns reading from the letters and sharing memories of their mother. We planted a small flowering bush next to the tree, a living symbol of forgiveness and new beginnings. As we worked together, I felt the weight of the past begin to lift, replaced by a sense of hope and gratitude. Looking around at my family, older, wiser, and closer than we'd been in years, I realized how powerful it is to face the truth, no matter how painful. The secrets we'd kept had nearly broken us, but the courage to bring them into the light had given us a second chance. The old tree, once a silent witness to our struggles, now stood as a reminder of our resilience and our promise to each other. As the sun set and the sky turned gold, I felt a quiet peace settle over us. We couldn't change what had happened, but we could choose how to move forward. Under the old tree, surrounded by the people I loved, I knew we were starting a new chapter, one built on honesty, forgiveness, and the hope that, no matter what, we would always find our way back to each other. If this story touched your heart, remember that honesty and forgiveness can heal even the deepest wounds. Families aren't perfect, but facing the truth together can bring hope and new beginnings. Don't be afraid to have the hard conversations or to reach out to someone you love. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you believe in the power of family stories, please subscribe, like, and share this video. Your support helps keep these stories alive and reminds us all that it's never too late to start again together.